this talk is a part, and we are very, very pleased to have Professor Irina Busygina today, and she's going to provide you with a really interesting talk. And so I will just introduce her before we get started, and then we will have the question and answer period following her talk. Okay, so Professor Busygina is, from your bio on the website, is a research fellow at the Data Center for Russian and Eurasian Studies at Harvard University, the counterpart institute to Harriman Institute. She is teaching a course for Harriman right now entitled Russia and the European Union. And some of the students in that course are here today. Till 2022, she worked as a professor of comparative politics at the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the Higher School of Economics in St. Petersburg. And she headed the Center for Comparative Governance Studies. Her research interests include comparative federalism and decentralization, Russian domestic and foreign policy, Russia-EU relations, and her latest publications include Center-Regional Relations in Russia, published by Routledge, Handbook of Russian Politics and Society, recently in 2023. Did not know about that. That's great. An article, Ready to Protest, explaining protest potential in Russian regional capitals, published in Regional and Federal Studies, also in 2023. Pandemic Decentralization, COVID-19 and Principal Agent Relations in Russia, published in Problems Post-Communism in 2022. And also Russia-EU Relations in the Common Neighborhood, Coercion versus Authority, published by Routledge in 2018. Her most recent book is entitled Non-Democratic Federalism and Decentralization in Post-Soviet States, written together with Mikhail Filippov, and it's forthcoming by Routledge in 2023. So she's been very busy and has a diverse set of research interests, which is fantastic. So without further ado, I will turn the floor over to Irina. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much, Elise. Thank you for this credit. You know, like you said that I'm going to make an interesting presentation. I don't know, but I did my best to do that, to convince you that the Central Regional model in Russia, Central Regional relations in Russia, what we could call authoritarian federalism, although it's not a concept of definition, but still, because something that the very word federalism cannot be applied for non-democratic political systems, but still, I still will use this term authoritarian federalism. And thank you very much for coming today. And again, I will try to convince you that it is important. This talk and this topic is very important. And for me, it does not get enough attention. You know, because look, we see so many different projects of the Russian future. How Russia is going to look like after Putin? Who will be Putin's successor? Will it be, I don't know, a democratic leader? Will it be a non-democratic leader from his environment? Like, I don't know, who else? You know, but still, you know, the main idea I never saw in this project where I'm also a part, that there would be enough attention to the regional dimension. You know, it looks as if Russia is a point, and all the politics is done in Moscow, probably to some extent in St. Petersburg. What is the rest of Russia? Do we need to take into consideration making this project? And this is another question of, do we need this project now? And what we're going to do with this project, but this would be a theme of the topic of a very different talk. You know, but still, you know, this is about the regions, and this is about Russian territory, and this is about the politics made in this territory. So, but I will kind of make more so, because my first slide is devoted. I don't see what is this. The participant. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. So, why is the system of Central Regional Relations important? This is authoritarian federalism. And here I kind of put together the collection of reasons, because I don't think it's a one reason. I think there are several reasons. Each of them in a combination make the argument that this is important to have a stronger. And the first thing is that the most important condition for continuation of the war is the resilience of the Central Regional model in Russia. Because indeed, imagine the situation then, it would be that the regions would not be loyal, that something would happen. And then Putin, you know, started this invasion against Ukraine. So that his assumption that everything was white and the whole territory of Russia was wrong. Imagine what then. However, he was right. And so far we have this the resilience. And then we are talking, the people are writing that much about the unexpected resilience of Russia in terms of war, And normally they talk about the Elise around Putin, where we don't observe significant splits and cleavages. This is one thing. Another thing is economic dimension. That Russia shows also unexpected economic resilience. And the sanctions do not work how they should work, how they were expected to work. But there is another pillar and another dimension of this resilience, and this is the central regional model. And here I put both parties are equally important. So don't omit the regions, because Moscow made decisions. Putin made decisions to start the war, and so the people, the inner circle of Putin, are making the decision of the continuation of the war, but the regions implement the decisions. Where the people who are conscripted to war, who are mobilized, where do they come from? Are they coming from Moscow and St. Petersburg? No, they're coming from the regions. And I will then, talk a little bit more about that. So how I put it here, they feed the war with manpower. And the enterprises, this economy, which now are militarized, they are working 24 hours, 7 days a week. Where are they located? In the regions. In the regions. So the regions are recruiting now. This is kind of the more or less new, at least I knew it, quite recently. They are recruiting for the Wagner Group. So this is the process in the region. The regional authorities recruit all these socially vulnerable groups for military contracts. Where is the whole this advertising of war? It's in the regions. It's in the regions. And I know, talking to my former colleagues from the Russian regions, they said that all the regions, the streets, the main streets of the cities, not only of the big cities or the large cities, but also of the small and medium cities, they are full with advertisement. Служите по контракту, защищайте отечество. So this is all this campaign, and what is important for me and for our talk, because we are talking about central-regional relations. The regional authorities are responsible for it, and they should report weekly to the presidential administration. How are they doing with this military contracts? How many people did they involve in the so-called war? So it's pointless to discuss Moscow and the perspectives of the war and the future without talking about the region. Now this is a very primitive slide, Russian territorial size, right? So this is just to show it looks very small. Like in this picture, Russia looks small, but it's not small. It's the largest country in the world. So it's territorially, it's the largest country in the world, and much more than Canada, being number 2 in this list. It belongs to the giant countries, to a special group of the giant countries, where the political geographers would say that they form this special group where the size is a variable. It is an explanation for many things which we could expect from Russia, from its political or economic or social, kind of dimension. And if you would look, okay, Russia is a giant country, so these are the regions. What are the other giant countries? Just to be very, 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 short. So the other giant countries, all of them are federations, but China. But all of them are democracies. These are the democratic countries. So this is not only federations, which are democratic federations. China would be the only example of the non-democratic country being at the same time not a federation, right? Not a federation, but we know about China, and there is plenty of literature explaining to us how the political centralization in China is combined with significant economic decentralization, and how the regions in China, the provinces, how they are competing for the skilled labor and for the investments. It's not the case of Russia. So for me, Russia is, okay, frankly speaking, I hate to talk about уникальность России. Умом Россию не понять. If умом Россию не понять, if you cannot understand Russia with our brain, then what does it talk about, So this is, but still I think we can understand Russia, we can rationally understand Russia, we can rationalize Russia, although it would be not a trivial task. But still, in this regard, in the regard of the federalism and non-democratic federalism, I think still Russia is an exception, because there are just no countries of that size that would keep federal order being not only non-democracy, but it being personally autocracy. So this is and having this scale and having somehow building the model which holds all the country, not only in times of the normal kind of life when we were talking about stability of the relations, But now in times of crisis, we are talking about resilience. And resilience is different from stability. This is a different concept, right? So I would say that Russia. So first is the very scale of Russia is a very important variable, and then this is the political regime. It's another variable, because what we normally know from the literature, and that's why the scholars of federalism would say don't use the word federalism when they're talking about Russia. These are the scholars of democratic federalism, and these are the scholars in particular of American federalism, American federal model. And this is, but still my idea, and this is not only my idea, I need to mention absolutely my co-author Michael from SUNY New York, that we are discussing this all the time, about how the country is using the institutions, which indeed, federalism and decentralization, which indeed were designed for democracies. How Russian political regime is getting profit out of the institution, which is not, at least normatively, designed for non-democratic or authoritarian rule. The model. So what is this model we are talking about? It's resilience, but what is the model we are talking about? Normally, this model in many studies, it is like it is described or defined as power vertical. Power vertical. Is it a power vertical? Is it that simplistic that this is a power vertical? I would say this is rather simplistic. You can't call it power vertical if you don't have another term. Okay, power vertical is power vertical, but this is a peculiar power vertical, because normally when we say power vertical, then it's total control. Right, so fully control the regions and creating as much as Moscow can, the uniform space, probably except for the ethnic regions because of the ethnic specific features and so on and so forth. However, the full control is impossible. The full control over this whole territory would be unpractical, and it wouldn't be in the Moscow interests. What is more, and here we have the idea backed very very well by the literature about the need for power sharing. The need for power sharing, because and federalism is about sharing power. I'm not going to tell you that much about what is federalism, because I assume you know what is federalism: types of government, bargaining between them, competences for two types of government, representation of the regions, of the constituent entities on the national level, and so on and so forth. Again, full control is impossible, and there is a need to share power. There is a need, because the perception that here is that Putin наш все, Putin is everything for us, and Putin is responsible and makes any decision. It's not possible. It is not possible. And again, the good literature will tell us why even the personalist regimes would need to share power, not only vertically between two layers, but also horizontally. So between between the president, the inner circle, and the government, and so on and so forth. So it is from this perspective, it's not already not a power vertical. How we could see if we define it as a total control of Moscow over the region. What is really about, so here's the separation. There are strategically the most important dimensions or things that Moscow would need to control. Absolutely. Moscow needs to control the election results, be it the regional election results, or even more so the national election results, like the results of the Единая Россия, United Party in the State Duma, or even more so again the presidential elections that we are going to have, Russia is going to have probably, or we'll have, we'll have it in the beginning of the next year. The strategic measures. So these are election results. These are the execution of Putin made decrees. These are the social. It's about social obligations of the state vis-a-vis the citizens. National projects, again the same thing, and the military agenda of the regional administration. However, outside this strategic, so this is a kind of a sophisticated division between the spheres which are strategically important for Moscow. And indeed, the control is there, but there are significant dimensions or spheres where Moscow does not control the governance, and the governance have the room for maneuver. So it's not the power vertical, understanding simplistically as a total control. this system is sophisticated, one thing, and it was skillfully crafted by the presidential administration, namely by a lot has been done by the Sergei Kirenka. So because he was responsible for the regions, but probably this name is not that important, but still, the presidential administration. And when Putin started the war, the system was already there. He didn't need to change anything. It was already there. But it was not a one act process. It was many act process. Building this little by little. We don't have time, but if you would have questions, I could try to answer them about how this system has been built. So this is our book that Elise so nicely mentioned. So this is it should be it's written here Irina Busygina, but it's a mistake. There are two authors here, Irina Busygina and Mikhail Philipp. I don't know, it's not my mistake. Mistake of Rakic. And it should appear in the very beginning. I hope to see it in the January or probably even in December this year, where we try not only to present the evidence from 3 countries, and we took Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine, but we also try to advance the theory of authoritarian federalism, trying to explain how these institutions, again, how they work in under authoritarian rule, and in particular under personalist version of non-democracy. Right? So now, and here are some of the findings, because I think this is probably, from the more or less theoretical perspective, this is the most important slide. The most important, because here is the explanation, at least our ideas of the explanation, why and how does it function. How, again, I repeat the task. The task is to explain why this model of what we call federalism, authoritarian federalism, how it is used, what usage gets the authoritarian incumbent from using these complicated institutions. And alas, here, Putin did not cancel federalism. He did not cancel. This is a lot of speculations. Why he did it, also kind of competing explanations, but he did not do it. If he didn't do it, then these institutions are not neutral. They are not, the idea, again, I don't know. Yesterday we were talking about sleeping institutions, right? Federalism is discussed in Russia as a sleeping institution, as one of those, But our idea is that it is not sleeping. It is misused. And this is a different thing, So how? First, the first thing is about the size of the ruling coalition. The size of the ruling coalition is a very important thing for any non-democratic regime. And the federalism is contributing, to hold the ruling coalition, both small and large, creating tired ruling coalition, where you would have the internal inner circle, very, very narrow circle around Putin, not Putin himself, but let's say very, very narrow circle. But then you would have another tier, and this tier is kind of more diverse, and the regional governance. It's also some of the national businesses. It's also the high officials in Moscow. It's not only regional, but also this is a multi-tier coalition, which is kind of helping the regime to have this not control but governability of the whole system. Then this is a standard argument which came to the literature in the times of COVID-19. In the COVID-19, the people were describing, we also were describing what was the reaction of Moscow to the COVID-19 pandemic. Hit very unexpectedly, absolutely, it was the period of absolute uncertainty, so we don't know what to do. And then came the idea of blame shifting. So this is in this system, the blame would be shifted for policy failures, for bad managing on something, this and that, in dimensions. You have the possibility to shift the blame to the lower tiers of government, namely to the regional authorities, to the regional governments, while these regional governments are often shift the blame to the local authorities, which have absolutely no rights, in Russia being not autonomous at all. So this is always this blame shifting, and this is what we really indeed observed during the COVID-19 pandemic. And then third argument is about legitimacy. And again, my favorite topic, my students of my class know how I like legitimacy. So I like to discuss the legitimacy because indeed I think I'm all the time from different perspectives. While this war is going, we are asking, how can the people tolerate it? How can the people give their yes to what is going on? How can they help to maintain the legitimacy? Federalism would be one of the mechanisms to support the legitimacy. Presenting the current political system as the best possible, because all alternatives are presented as a gross, right? So now Russian federal model. So this was like more a theoretically built argument, and this is more coming to the Russian case. So the governors are the stakeholders in the current system, and they're interested. This current government, these people who now are governing the regions, they are the stakeholders. They are not the passive agents of if you would want to talk about the principal agent model and inbuilt it here. So they are not agents. They are the stakeholders, because their fate, their existence as governors of the regions, as keeping their position, are totally dependent on Kremlin. So they are not the victims. Because many times, at least I see it again and again in the literature, that these are poor governors which are the victims of the whole system, and this is bad Putin, who imposed his dirty, orders, and they have no choice. No, it's not the case. So the integral part of maintaining stability and resilience in non-democratic regime in Russia. The federal model works that bargaining between Moscow and the regions is excluded, and in the democratic federation is one of the critical features of any democratic federation. And what are the instruments? Again, we could talk about the instruments more kind of in detail. If you have any questions or you have comments, which I hope you have. So this is a strict control of national and regional elections. So that the governors do not go through the procedure of competitive elections. So this is the main point. This is the redistribution, again, deserves more talk, and this is no real representation of regional interests at the federal level from the upper chamber of the parliament. This is Soviet Federacy, the Federation Council of the Federation, right? So, and now we're coming to the war. What was changed by the war? What was the Kremlin idea? What Kremlin has done? The Kremlin has delegated new realms of responsibility to the regions in response to the war. This reminds me very much, not me, also to the situation of the after the COVID-19 crisis started. So what you do, you delegate responsibility. However, this time, and this is for me it's important thing, this time the main political message of Moscow to the regions was different, because during the pandemic, the presidential administration, the Kremlin, tried to regionalize the agenda. Tried to make out of a national challenge a series of regional challenges. Giving the regions, making the regions responsible for stability, for manipulation of information, whether on statistics, on fatalities, or from the COVID-19 mortality rates, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, to navigate between two different things, how to between making a strict lockdowns, to prevent the people from from too much suffering from the COVID-19, and at the same time to supporting the businesses, to navigate and the regions, this was a new task for the governors, but still it was the governors who decide, and there were different reactions of certain governors, one of the most, I would say, funny would be a bad word for the situation like in COVID, but situation like what Kadyrov was doing in Chechnya, how he said that first try to надо поесть немножко лимона. So if you eat a little bit of lemon, it helps. Nobody gets COVID-19 and COVID-19, and the other idea that the COVID-19 is American invention, that COVID-19 doesn't exist. So it's like, yeah. Or the next idea was that you need to be Chechen And then, Chechen origin, and then you don't stop from there. If you have immunity, you are born with immunity. But he would need to change his approach, and he did change it several times. So without break of the war, the message was different, and the message was you cannot, so this is what did Putin and his administration after COVID, after COVID started. They went to the shadow, right, and said, so you are the governors, you govern your regions, here is your population, here is your business, here are your rules, but you keep your regions quiet, and population should be quiet. And Russia, and the idea was that Russia copes fantastically well with the COVID-19. With the war, you cannot do that. You cannot do that because it's a federal agenda. You cannot regionalize it. So this is Putin would not go to the shadow and say the governor, so you're responsible for the war, because this is just practically absolutely impossible. So the message was you represent Russia, and this is our war. This is the war we call Russia. This is our common thing. Your interests absolutely rely on Russia. And so the war is exclusively federal concern, and the governors actually has no ways or practical means to influence the war agenda of the Kremlin. But does it mean that they're not important? No, it is not, because this is again returning from what I started. I said that the regions are discussed too little, the regional dimension. And one of the arguments why I discussed too little is exactly this. The regions have no influence on the war. Why should they discuss it? But this is, but again, for me, it's absolutely false. It's wrong argument. Now, so what is the repertoire of Moscow and regional relations, regional reactions? This is what I said. The war created incentives for administrative decentralization, for responsibility, blame shifting. The governments are mostly responsible for political social stability in the regions. The regions demonstrated no signals of their wish to reconsider the relations with Moscow. Full loyalty. This what is this? The phrase. This phrase of mine, this thing of mine, came from the times of the COVID-19, because after COVID-19 started, it was the idea supported by some of the Russian experts that now it will come. Now this forced by crisis, this forced decentralization will be converted into real federalization process in Russia. Now the regions, it will be kind of spillover, more and more decentralization, first administrative, then economic, then political, and then it will be like so more really federal Russia, and probably this will even kind of switch or start the democratization process in Russia. No way this was not the case. It was not the case, and even no sign, absolutely sign, no evidence that regions during COVID-19 would ever address Moscow, asking for reconsideration of their relations with Moscow. Never. War is even more kind of politically strong thing. It's a political thing. So no full loyalty. No. If they didn't do it in time of COVID, there is no kind of, the expectations would be absolutely naive to discuss the ever perspective of possible intentions for reconsidering the current balance of relations between center in the region. Repertoire of Moscow. This is what I call invisible fatalities. Probably you read about this. Because if you have Russia, if you have these regions, the regions are very differently populated, right? Because Russia is known by its high asymmetries, also in settlement, in the population density, and so on and so forth. So how would you make the conscripts from the different regions? What kind of criteria you would want to invent in order to make this process fair to the regions? If the people, if I send the governor, if I send my people to the war and they die, shouldn't I look at the neighbor and see how many people he sends and how many people die there? So is it discussed? No, it is not discussed. So this is like the invisible fatalities. How the Moscow make fatalities invisible? that the conscript is disproportionately high in the poorest, structurally weakest, more of them are ethnic regions, very far from Moscow, with absolutely no record of political protest. It is not Moscow. It is not St. Petersburg. It's not Novosibirsk. It's not what other cities, we have a lot, it's not Vladivostok, it's not Khabarovsk, it's not large cities. So they try kind of utopit, that's all, to put this all to the very local level, from the villages, disproportionately high, to make this invisible. And sure, they know information on fatalities. Yeah, so this is not so. The people first, they don't know how many died, and they don't know how many are constituted. And if you know, I from time to time I am in Moscow, and I was talking to the people. Do they somehow notice that there is a war, that there is something that's happening around you in the families, of your friends, of your acquaintances? No, they do not. They do not. So this is the, I would say, the skillful, although cynical, usage of the asymmetries in the Russian territory and differences. So exploiting the weakest who cannot defend themselves. So this is what they're doing. Then as for the regional reaction and also Moscow appeal, this is the patronage over the new territory. I mean, these 4 regions, which were so in a hurry, joined the Russian Federation, right? Occupied the territories of Ukraine. So, and this is patronage of the new territories under the slogan, "It's our common cause." And then it's a lot in the regional press, and I'm looking at the regional press and see the articles of the governor, of the deputies of the governors, so this is how much we are going to help. So what we are doing this, we are doing that, to this region. And this is about the logistics, infrastructure, building the hospitals, building the schools. So this is our, what we are doing. Social patronage, very important thing. So this is the social patronage over mobilized, not in the new territories, but in the regions where these governors, how I call it the circle of war. And with the continuation of war, the circle of war is expanding. And the circle of war, again, it's not that much in Moscow, but this is in the regions where you have mobilized, and then you have to take care about their families, their children, their houses, because some of them, when the regional budget, then they don't have enough money to support the families. They are kind of replacing it with another benefits like electricity and gas to the villages, from which the people are conscripted. And this social patronage, this is now the whole social networks of war. So this is what is emerging in the regions, because with the continuation of war, again, the circle of war will be more and more and more. And then the people who are coming from the front and who want to be treated as heroes, so these people, and treated as heroes, these people who want to be treated as heroes also politically, and they want to have political representation, creating their own organizations, associations, backed by the regional administration, and they want to be the deputies, local deputies, regional deputies. So these people, what do they bring from the war? But this is a different question. And the presidential administration, come with ranking of governors according to the degree of their patriotism. And you can guess which region is number 1. Can you guess? Being the most patriotic.
Chechnya.
So Misha, it was not difficult, right?
No.
Okay, sure. So this is but here I would need to say that the governors are very different. Some of them show a lot of patriotism, some of them do not. However, they know about their red lines. You can be less patriotic than this, but if you're already here, beyond the red line, you can show this patriotism or that patriotism. So it depends. So I wouldn't say that they're all equal. They're not. What to expect? What to expect? When we are now, I come, to the final part, of what I'm going to say. So this is. Let me see. So this is what to expect. What to expect when the war is continuing, right? So the war the war is going on, but we still think of the limits of authoritarian resilience, the limits of this dimension, authoritarian resilience, center regions. So what to expect? For the regional governments, preserving the status quo is better than any of alternatives. We need to take it into consideration. It is better for them. It is better for their personal political survival. The second consideration is an important consideration again, because when I was working on this presentation, what I had in my kind of back mind, I don't know here. So I was thinking about the arguments which I discussed, in the academic and also expert communities. And some of my former Russian colleagues, they think that the current system can be reformed. It can be improved, reformed, improved. Our idea is that this system is not reformable under the current political regime. It is not reformable. You cannot reform it. You can cancel it. It can be broke down apart, but it's not reformable. So it's not. You cannot improve this model. And also important, any post-Putin incumbent should not only win Moscow but also win the regions. So this is the post-Putin struggle will be not in Moscow. It will be in the regions. And the regions will behave very differently. And this is again, we could discuss kind of separately, because it very much, the variable will be the factor will be of how long will be the period of chaos. In the regions. So who will be the successor of Putin? So the fate of post-Putin Russia will not be decided in Moscow. It will be decided also in the regions. Please, let's don't forget about that. And the trends to follow. So because talking about regions, so it's not a project that you can start today and finish in 2 years. Let's say it's a permanent process. If you are interested in the regions, and I'm interested in regions because I'm geographer according to my social education, so political and social geography. So I'm very interested in territory and spaces, and I think it is important. So when you observe the regions, this is I would say this is for the whole life. For the whole life. So for decades, I'm observing the regions. When I was in Russia, I traveled all over Russia, as much as I could. So because this is without, you cannot study Russia from Moscow. It's not possible. Now for my foreign students, for my international students where I was teaching, who came to know Russia, to Moscow and St. Petersburg, there were times that when I taught in English, and I have very international audience, my students, so think is now so, but I was telling them, use this possibility. You're now 2 years in Russia. Use this possibility to travel across Russia. Don't sit in St. Petersburg. Don't sit in Moscow. It's not. And what they were doing, they were took a train. All of them. The idea was to take a train. I don't know why, and to go to the Far East. And then back. No. You should go to Russia. You should live in the streets, at least see something. And not from the window to the train or from the window. Of the train. Now, so the trends to follow. First, this is very kind of. I didn't have the possibility to think much about my last slide, but I'm trying to look at the evidence, to think more. So the model is not reformable, but are there signs of models erosion? Probably, and probably do the governors gain more legitimation with the continuation of the war? Because paradoxically, now what they are doing, with the social patronage and making their regions ready for continuation of the war, for me, this somehow what they need to demonstrate are not the qualities of effective managers. This was the idea of Putin. We will put effective manager, technocrats, to all the regions. But the technocrats cannot deal with this social consequences of war. You would need, again, to be legitimate in your region and for your population. You would need to demonstrate the qualities of a politician. not a democratic politician, but more, much more than how it was in the normal times, in the status, in times of non-war stability, like managers. No, much more is needed now. Should it be converted into the evolution of the model? I don't know, but just want to put it like the discussion for the future. Growing the difference between the regions. So this is and shift to the east. This is the same thing goes here, because the original interests are start to diverge very much. Also even more than they were. Okay, no regional representation, regional interest, but still, the proximity to the war is the main variable. But there are a lot of regions who are very far geographically from the war. The cities also, not the regions. And what I didn't put in this slide, so this is what I should have put. Important is not only the regions, because the regions are territories, with their settlement structures, but important will be also the cities. The cities, because where would you have the potential political protest? This protest capital, this protest capacity in the cities. So this is the talk should include, and here I finish the talk when we talk about perspectives of Russia, post-Putin Russia, or Russia under Putin, or Russia under unpopular Putin. There's also or Putin with less popularity, and we even don't know how this regime is functioning if Putin is less popular. We even don't know it. But if we do any projection to the future, we should not forget about regions. Any reform, any discussions of this kind should, in my sense, include the discussions not only of the regions, but also of the big cities. The territory is important. So thank you very much, and I stop there and wait for the comments.
Okay, so maybe raise your hand, and when you ask your question, introduce yourself. Can I just start with one question, because I'm sharing this and I have so many thoughts. This is really fascinating and very thorough. I've been thinking that the governors who don't show patriotism, and maybe you're asking about other signs of the model's erosion. So are there governors? Have you found any who don't show patriotism, and maybe this is the harder thing because we maybe don't have the data, maybe didn't send conscripts, and maybe aren't even meeting the military recruitment quotas? And are they then balancing between fear of their population and fear of the center? Because even though it's not a democracy, why do you think some governors don't show patriotism? Because of what they think, or is there possibly still some reaction to fear of the population, and just fear of sending their constituents, their voters, their people off to die? Have you observed anything like that? And then was Dagestan an example of, or how do you kind of understand what happened there in terms of the incentives facing the governor? Meaning, they are trying to balance between some urge to get out there and protest among the population, and they maybe went with the wrong choice and they repressed. And then there was this unexpected, violent reaction. And now they could be replaced or removed from Moscow because they didn't handle it right. So how do you see the kind of balance of governors between controlling their population and then the incentives of control that Moscow has?
Elise, thank you very much. This is a fantastic question, and all fantastic questions are difficult to answer, to respond, but still I will try to do that, and I will say what kind of I think, because so far, so the idea, again, I like the framework of the principal agent model, right? And what we have in the federation as a principle, we have two principles, right? One, and the governance should be the agent of two principles. One principle is the federal government, right? So this is, and that one, and the other the population, right? So the population as a principle, and the idea was to cut off this principle and to make only one principle for the governors, while the governors are legend and the federal authorities are other principle. So the question is, do people return as the second principle in the course of war? My question is no. At least I don't see enough evidence, to they could, kind of probably return, but so far I don't see enough evidence because this would understand really profound change of the model, profound change. So what I see now is indeed that the model, erosion, and I see that the governors demonstrate different degrees of patriotism, but again, there are no signs of disloyalty, of patriotism. Absolutely not. You just and there could be different reasons why the governors who demonstrate, less patriotism. I could think also I could think about personal, explanations, like they're ashamed. I would be ashamed, to do what they're doing. So the other explanation would be is that they're smart. That they are smart and they're thinking about the future. And they don't want to become as dirty as the presidential administration and Putin. So they think about the future. So they work under the conditions kind of structured by the center, but they don't want to show excessive patriotism. So some of them do, but is it an agency or a structure? So this is there would be competing explanation. Dagestan is a very special case. It's a very special case. Probably, Dagestan is one of the republics, small republics, ethnic republics in the northern Caucasus. Dagestan, the complexity of the ethnic composition is enormous. Dagestan has no titular nation. Titular nation. There is a group who present to be Lakce, so this is. About that exactly. Yeah. So this is what is happening in Dagestan. We cannot build our our consideration on cases because Russia is that large. That you would find this. This is again. I also repeat it. You can find anything in Russia to back any kind of argument because because of the very territory. Probably you remember how it was the whole story with the Furgal in Khabarovsky Krai, with the governor, and the people would say with the Furgal, was it the popular discontent about this, all these things, and the people said, aha, here is the first bird that would show the way, to the reconsideration. No way. So I think that the military recruiting quotes, not all coming to question, not all the regions produce, the needed amount of the recruitment quotes, but their explanations, at least as far as I'm familiar with their explanations, are always technical. They're not political at all. They're technical. Because of the weather, because of the mismanagement on the local level, because of disorganization, because of this, because of that. But there are no way that they explain it, using the arguments that the population means something to us, and that's why we are going to do that. So, Elise, I'm very, I support it very much. I'm the first person who would jump to the earth if I would see that this is the case, that the governors are acting in a different way. But so far I cannot.
Mm-hmm. Aliona.
Thank you for this talk. You mentioned that you expect to be chaos on the regional level in a post-Putinist regime, and I'm wondering how long the chaos on the regional regime lasted when the Soviet collapse happened and the Russian Federation, or was there even like a chaos that you expect to happen in the future? Was there a similar chaos in the 90s?
Another good question. Did I use the word chaos? Did I? No. Yeah, yes, I did. Okay. Yeah, but now we need to define the word chaos. What is chaos and what is not chaos? Close to chaos, but still, not a chaos. This is indeed, so and I would say yes, if you want to see first, this is only one of the possibilities, because there is it's one of the options. The other option is that also theoretically absolutely not excluded, then the change from Putin to his successor would go smoothly, and that the regions would coordinate around this new person. Is it possible? Yes, it is. Is it possible that the regions would not accept this person? Is it possible? Some of them, sure, but not again, so some of them. It could come to split between regions. Can it come? Yes, it can come. Especially, so this would also the situation we would need very, very much to observe the situation in Moscow. Moscow not as the capital of Russian Federation, but Moscow as a constituent entity of the Russian Federation, because it's also a region. Moscow is a capital and a region. So from this perspective, Moscow is very important, and whether Sobyanin would accept this person. This is also another question, but and this is about this chaos. It's about this chaos, this is one of the options. And if you want, Alona, to see what could happen, then we could look at indeed at the 90s. Yes. So it was chaos in a way that it was institutional chaos. Okay, so first of all, so the institutions didn't work, right? So and that the regions were trying to, it was the chaotic decentralization. This is how I would say, and this is the main condition which would lead to this situation. And the main variable in all this, when we discuss the transition, is the relative strength of Moscow. This was the condition of the split in Moscow. This is what created it. This chaos was not created by the region. It was created by total uncertainty, because Moscow was split, between the reformers and the conservatives. So between those who were on the side of Boris Yeltsin and those who were on the side of the Supreme Council and Ruslan Khasbulatov. Yeah, so it was a split. So it was no. So and again, in this case, in this sense, the strength of the national center, the capabilities, strength is a better word. How capable will be the national center to govern the country? Okay, incapable, we can say, or much less capable. Then how long it will be? Then I could easily see what was going in Moscow. So this is mobilization, ethnic mobilization, anti-Moscow mobilization, which is absolutely forgotten. This was a very important factor during the 90s, and it got in the literature the name Moskva-Borchestva. Moskva-Borchestva. When the governors who were elected during the 90s, they come to their position with the slogans which were against Yeltsin, against Moscow, So but at the same time, and this is this last thing what I want to say, answering your question. At the same time, it does not mean that under this chaotic decentralization, what was forming in the regions were democratic political regimes, subnational political regimes. On the contrary, this were the formation, the shaping of authoritarian regimes. And Moscow was, and a lot of regimes were much more authoritarian than Moscow itself. It was how the people would say it was less democracy, or in the regional level, comparing to the federal level or to the national level. So this is, and how the situation then has been changed. It's been changed with the economic prices, Putin coming, all these things. So could we expect this? Yes, we should look again at the legacy of 90s. It's very important for understanding one of the options which could be realized after Putin is gone.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your talk. I guess my question is, in your research, did you find any specific regions that we should keep a close eye on that have achieved the sort of balance of appeasing sort of Putin and his regime, and also prepare themselves for post-Putin Russia?
Again, this question, Leo, what it reminds me, it reminds me the idea which circulated very much, not very much, but circulated in Russia. So you would need to look at the pilot regions, so the regions which would tell you about the situation in Russia generally, and when the people were making research and they could not cover the whole Russia, it was not possible. What kind of regions did they choose? They chose, okay, they didn't choose Chechen Republic because it's absolutely outlier. It's an outlier. But what did they choose? They choose Tatarstan or Bashkortostan, right, from the ethnic republics and not the republics of the Northern Caucasus. They chose some from the, at least what I know, it was Kaluga Belgorod, so from the Central Federal District, and very much the Sverdlovsk Oblast. Sverdlovsk Oblast, so this is the Ural, right? So this is the region known by its record of protests, known by competitive political regime on the regional level. On this, situation on when on the federal level, there were in average very little competition on the subnational level, But these times. We really were talking about the differences in political regimes, regional political regimes, and there were the index of the regional political regimes of the Petrov-Titkov, so the index of fantastic, if I would be asked, if you ask me at what kind of regions I would look like now, I would say I don't know. I would say probably I would look. The only thing that would come to my mind is to look at Primorsky Krai, to look at this, to look at the Far East, probably to look at Siberia. I don't know, but I would definitely, how I said, I would definitely look at Moscow as a constituent entity. I would definitely look at St. Petersburg also. So, but this is this is difficult now, because there so many things are destroyed, and we cannot talk about regional political regimes at all. There's no essence.
Hi, thank you so much for this fascinating talk. This is such an interesting framework to think about contemporary Russian regional politics. I just had a short question. How important is financial redistribution from the center to the periphery in maintaining this at a political level? And by extension, can this model of regional politics survive extended war austerity? If there's no longer money to pay for firewood for veterans' families, is this going to cause this entire model to start to have some problems?
Yes, I very important. Absolutely, one of the critical dimensions, because this system cannot only kind of exist with political rules. It can also it should have some economic, some economic background, some economic thing. And this is exactly redistribution. First, Russia is doomed to a large redistribution. So this is an important thing. Because Russia is, if you would look, how many regions are there? There is a donors and recipients region, right? So and the taxes are centralized, so they're sending to Moscow, and then so they are. This is what discussed a lot, previously. So and this is redistribution is very important, but this is this absolute disbalance between the number of donors and the number of recipients. So for you would have 11 to 12 until. So probably no, it's better. How many donors do we have? But we never had more than 13. Having in mind that we have over 80 regions. So, so this is again, if we talk about Russia in the future, will Russia be a democratic federation? It should be a democratic federation with a huge redistribution. So redistribution is here. Redistribution plays enormous role. The system, I don't think the system can function without sufficient redistribution, because so the regions are, so this is the whole. Let's take this outlier example, like the Chechen Republic. This relationship between Putin and Kadyrov. This is a kind of a personal unia. right? But it is it is built on the redistribution and uncontrolled redistribution. This is even more important, that you send the money and you don't control how they spend. So this is, and these are, you know, this is also redistribution, which is not which is very much motivated by the political purposes, since it was very what I was observing. This is redistribution in favor of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol after the annexation of Crimea. You know how much, because it was the matter of geopolitical ambitions of Russia. You know, to hold Crimea, to make it the show that the Crimea is doing good. You know, all these things, and indeed the situation, the economic situation in Crimea structural was bad. So, but this is there is redistribution. This is kind of normal redistribution which you can need anyway, and this is a lot, because this is a lot of republics and regions in the Russian Federation which are not self-sufficient. They don't have their tax bases enough to feed themselves, and they would never have, because they don't have enough capacities industrial. They don't have enough population. You know, so they're just, so this is one thing. This is the, so to say, economic kind of structure, the mirror of the economic structure of Russian territory. But above this is political thing. So this is, for instance, this shift to the east. Shift to this is so expensive now, and this is not a shift to the east. I mean, from Europe to the development of the far eastern regions. This is not a market thing. This is a state subsidized thing. The market would not do it, because you know, all the market chains, everything was oriented to Europe. But now this shift, it goes only with the money. So it's absolutely important that Russia would have enough money to subsidize the regions, politically and economically. So,
Alexei?
Thank you. I will stand up. I'm not a student. I am a longtime friend to the Harriman Institute, an alumni, and also an observer of Russia through my previous position. I was working with the U.S. Embassy in Moscow for a very long time and have been observing regions. And hence my question. What are the attitudes of regional elites in your mind and bureaucracy towards war and current state of affairs? Are they really quiet? What is discussion of war in these circles? What tendencies can you see in this narrative, if you can see this tendency at all? Because I understand the situation may be very opaque. And also to your point that federalism is not a sleeping institution, one that has been misused or adapted. I 100% agree. Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. You know, this is what in the regions, in the regional governments, and in the regional elite crisis, do they
Below the governor level.
Yeah, you know. So this is. I would say I have very so my information is not complete at all. You know, so because I try to keep contact with those I have in Russia, because for this you actually need to live in Russia. You know, to live in Russia, or to be able to make a field trip to make it longer. You know, to know how it goes. You know, I would say, and this will be more or less my informative guess, right? That the elites below the level of governors and also the governors themselves, they're not fond of war. You know, they were not. It was not their idea. You know, it was not their decision to make this war. And indeed, they have a lot now of more competences. You know, of more responsibilities. And this is somehow the war. I don't think this is the war for them. It's a moral value. You know, like the war is bad, Russia is killing people, you know, like and this is from all the more moral sides, this is unimaginable, you know. So this is absolutely, it's a killing, you know. So this is a criminal thing. But I don't think that they discuss it in this respect. But I think that they discuss it how my life. I'm a regional regional somebody, you know, in the regional elite, how my life changed. Does it change for good or for bad? At least, you know, I'm coming of this war forced me to go out of my comfort zone. Out of my comfort zone, and this is not good, because these people, they're working in their networks, you know, they have their everything also distributed, you know, they know how to live under these conditions. And now you would need to have different challenges, you know, you would need also coming also to the governor and also to the deputy of governor. They didn't come to the people, now they have to come to the people. They have to explain the people, to say something to the people. At least you know about the fatalities, because the people in the villages, they do know about that. You cannot hide it. You can hide the figures, how many exactly, but you cannot fight that something is happening. You know, and you cannot fight, and I know that they got at least the governors, they got from it's important, they got from the presidential administration. Each month they get the special brochures how to answer the question of the population. You know, because the people can ask, сколько еще воевать? How long will we do? This is fantastic war, Russia is winning, absolutely как долго? But how many, you know, years, months, days, you know, what? Or what is, or когда мы возьмем Киев? When are we going to be in Kiev, you know? And the governors and the deputies, you know, who are visiting, you know, there are the answers, you know, how they should answer these sharp questions, I would say. So,
Anton.
I wanted to go back to blame shifting, but in a slightly different way. So, as you said, you can't regionalize the war, so you can't just say, well, this is what governors should do, but you can still put some blame on them for some parts of it. And I guess I'm wondering, what do you think, how the Kremlin thinks, or how it should think about how much it could blame the regions for anything bad that happens in the war? Because obviously, if you go too far, then it's not plausible. Although I think sometimes it doesn't stop the Kremlin from saying things. But on the other hand, there is still it's kind of a basic mode for the Kremlin, right? To find someone to blame for something. So how do they draw this line? How do you think they will be drawing it going forward?
Yeah, you know, I can only say what I would imagine. I can make the decision. So, what I would do that, you know, first I would say that I would try to keep the kind of this is about the threshold, right? So what is the threshold? How this is very tempting, you know. Tempting, you know, to blame the governors, you know, to blame the governors. But as you rightly said, too much pressure, you know, would be bad. You know, too much critique, too much blame to the governors would be bad, because if you after a certain threshold, you would need to dismiss the governor, right? So, and this the Kremlin doesn't want to do, because this is absolutely because this is the consensus in the presidential administration that this time is not the time of scandals. Right, and this is with the last year, so the year of war, the Kremlin kind of avoided of playing with the governors, you know, changing and dismissal, and probably making the corruption scandals, you know, because they want to avoid it, you know, the quiet. They want to keep still keep this situation quiet and don't irritate the regional population, because this will be the factor of irritating. If the governor would be dismissed, you know, I don't know. So you can kind of I would say this is what I would do. I would kind of press them all the time, but press them mildly. You know, not to do like this, but to so don't forget. So to keep them mobilized, you know, to keep them ready, to keep them, you know, informed. So.
Eli?
Hi, thanks. I'm curious about the center region model with regards to states that border Russia, especially in Central Asia and China. Is all of the interaction between those states and Russia still going through Moscow, or do those states interact with regional elites as well?
Good question. Very much they do interact with regional, also with local elites. You know, so and this is not the question of the recent years. So this interaction on the Russia-China border between the provinces of China and the Хабаровский край, Амурская область, еврейская автономная область, да, so they're kind of interacting, and this is also the case of kind of non-centralization. It's not a decentralization, and this is an important thing because it brings us to another big problem is Russian Empire. Empire is also a territorial order, and in some respects similar to the Federation. In some respects very dissimilar with the Federation. But so this is what is an empire. It's not decentralization, but it's called non-centralization. So you keep your eyes blind on the certain kind of thing which can violate your federal policy, right? And this is also here. So despite all this centralization, there is a lot of interregional interactions between Russia and China regarding the migration. First of all, because it's a lot of labor migration for many years from the territory of China to the territory of Russia. So a lot of infrastructure is built. So the bridges over Amur River, Ussuri River, so they're being built with the help of the regional administrations and the provincial administrations from China. So it is done, right? So this is yes, they kind of cooperate, and this is what you observe. You would also observe it on the border of Russia with Kazakhstan, but to a lesser extent. That is also the case.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm a PhD student in philosophy at another university, but I study ethics of war. I have an interest in Eastern Europe. Yeah, it's complicated.
Oh.
I have a couple of questions, and you can answer some or all of them. So I'm wondering if the sort of blame shifting model you described between the center and the governors replicates below that too, in the different regions.
Below, what do you mean below?
Like within each region, is there like a governor and then like other smaller local officials that they're also a blame shifting? I'm wondering how and or whether anything about how they're setting up control in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, whether or not that shows anything for this model, or maybe shows how it could erode by the way it's being built up. And then I'm also curious about, and this is sort of a flip side to the question about economic redistribution. I'm wondering if the economic impacts of having such a significant portion of the workforce mobilized in certain regions is a possible.
Okay.
Sorry.
So say it again. So the first question was about
the blame shifting.
blame
shifting.
level.
Sorry. The second question was on what can be learned for your model from the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. And then the third question was the impacts of depletion of the workforce in regions where there's high levels of mobilization as a possible factor in erosion, maybe. Like what you think of it. I'm not positing a theory. Okay, thank you, sorry.
No, it's okay, it's good, So I like this. So first about the blame shifting, I already mentioned it somehow, because it's only kind of normal and expected. So if the center shows the regions how the center is dealing with them, so they're shifting the blame. Then why would the regionals not do it to the lower levels? Why would they not? And they are doing this, and this was very there to the local communities, to the municipalities. So and they were doing it extensively after the mobilization was declared. I think it was the September last year, right? So and then it was declared, and the first weeks were full of very strange things, of absolutely crazy, terrible things. When they conscripted the people with their free fire children. When they conscripted the invalids, the disabled persons. How it was like absolute disaster. So what was the regions were saying? This is the local blame. So this is the blame. So they are not, they cannot do it, and they're not possible to do it on the local level. And the governors make the special directives Приведите порядок на местном уровне, make it in order, so this is it was indeed it was a blame shifting, although the local communities have nothing to do with this. It was governor and military commissar, so this was two people who were responsible with personally. But if you have the instrument, and the instrument is blame shifting, why don't you use it? Again, to convince the public that you keep your eye on it. You know about this. So the question is yes. So if the instrument is there, anyone can come and use the instrument. And so it's the occupied territories. Frankly speaking, I think it's a very special thing, the occupied territories. And again, this is a very costly endeavor, talking about redistribution. So this is a costly thing, to make, and this is a lot of the but what I was interested in explaining the existing model, right? And this model existed without these regions, without it. And this is kind of additions which came with the war. So my idea was to see how this system works, because this is the exceptions. These are absolute exceptions with the replacement of the people, and this is the situation is absolutely not normal there. So this is absolutely something different. And I know that there are ongoing projects which are devoted, especially exactly and making focus on these very regions. I would also like to do that, but I think that I wouldn't say they're not kind of. I don't think I can learn a lot from our model from this territories. I don't think, because I think this will be contamination, if you understand what I mean. Contamination with the different species, with the different kind of territories, because they were not in the model when the model was built, that I tried to describe. And then the workforce, the workforce. And so what is with the social structure in the regions, which are losing the population because of war? Can it have, what does it mean? Is it important? Is it not important? And what could be the consequences? Absolutely, the consequences. But the problem, and this is the problem of Russia. Why in Russia it doesn't work? Because Russia is capable of accumulating a lot of problems. It's because the consequences are strategic, so they are long-term. Long-term consequences will be disaster. Not only because of the workforce, but because of the birth rates, in the regions, because of the distorted gender structure in the regions. Absolutely, but this is all accumulating. It's all accumulating, and this is again. And Russia is a country which can absorb almost everything, and this is the problem. So this is like we cannot wait. So this is it is so it's like with the fire. You put in the fire, water into the fire, you put. So but the fire is still there, but it's undercover. It's undercover. It will explode, but strategically, and not now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your conversation, for your talk. First of all, I think my question.
Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry. My name is Anastasia. I'm a policy major at Columbia undergrad. And I'm from Russia. Yes.
Which is отлично.
Yes, thank you. And anyway, my question, you answered in part my question in what you just said, because my question was that even though we know that most Russians don't need the war, but given the oppressive regime, there is not that much that public can do. Basically, public support, public's opinion doesn't really matter. My question was that, is there anything at all that could cause in a significant drop of public support and patience that could lead to serious changes? But from what you just said, it sounds like we're gonna see it in the long term, but right now there is not, like, what maybe in politics and policy in the war aftermath can happen so that public would not be able to tolerate it.
Yeah, this is the absolutely crucial question, but I I'm thinking since I left Russia, every day I'm thinking about that. You know, what could be a wake-up call for my competitors? So what should the war show to them? You know, so this is what is there anything which could convince them and kind of clear their understanding what they're doing, you know, with their government, with their Putin, you know these things. And frankly speaking, I don't know. And you know, I published an article in it is called Novaya Gazeta Europa, you know, where I try to lay down. So this is why it's not a wake-up call, you know, and what are the Russian people are thinking and all these things, you know. And I have rather kind of practical and cynical ideas about that, because I think that again, so the idea of the Putin regime is not only to make the governance or the state authorities, stakeholders in this regime and the beneficiaries, but also the population. So because the idea is for me that the regime tries to show the population, the groups, that they benefit from it. So they're not the victims. So this is all okay. You know, it's still, and all these things like tourism to Europe can be replaced. Go to Baikal. Now we have a lot of spaces in Russia which are as interesting and as fantastic. What do we need to do? We need to invest in the tourist infrastructure, and this is what we are doing. Yeah. So this is this thing. So and what so can you and this all the ideas about sovereignty. So Russia, but Russia is sovereign, you know. But Russia is great. But Russia is this, and this is a very kind of tempting idea of being. I can feel great without doing anything. You know, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to believe in anything. I don't need to have any principles. You know, but I'm great. I'm great by default. I'm doomed to be great. You know, why not? It's also
convenient.
It's also an instrument. And you know, and this is what is this feeling of, I would say this is superiority complex. It is a superiority complex because I never met any nation, you know, I don't know any nation in the world which would disrespect that much the other nations. Not only, you know, post-Soviet neighbors, Americans, Germans, Europeans in general, you know, and at the same time, you know, say that we are a great nation. So, and if this is one thing, and the other thing which is not absolute not my finding, but this is I currently heard from Sam Green, you know, so from SIPA, you know, who made an interview and said that they were making some focus groups. I don't know how they did it, but the idea in Russia, very important idea, that I belong to the group. I belong to the group. If I said something critical to the war, I'm pariah. You know, this is if I either need to be silent, you know, or to say to share, because the group rules, you know, not individual rules, not my rules will come from here, but the group rules, they define my behavior. And not to be still, you know, included in the social networks, of the social relationship. I need to be like the others. Like the others, and we are all great. What else? So where could I find the sources of optimism? I don't know, because I really tried to talk to the different sectors of the Russian academics, workers, officials, you know, trying to find something positive, trying to. I should not.
Any further questions?
But yeah.
Oh, very. I was really curious if you could elaborate the difference you see between authoritarian federalism and empire. Just because, not only because kind of empire imperialism gets a lot of rhetorical mileage these days, but also just kind of superficially, you kind of see this, and you're like, oh, okay, he's kind of. Moscow's kind of giving the lick to the, you know, local notables, and they're sort of running it semi-autonomously because that's convenient. It sort of seems like a very old form of what we now see as kind of like imperialism. So, what do you see as the concrete differences between those two systems of territorial organization?
Yeah, you know, this is not difference between empire. Understand me correctly. So it's not a difference between authoritarian federalism and empire. But this is the difference between federalism and empire. And what is first I would say what is similar, at least on the how the people, how those who compare these form of political organizations, how they talk about it. So the similarity between them is that if we are talking about large, we are not talking about Switzerland or Belgium, or Austria. This is a small political system, territorially small, but it's a large thing, territorially large thing. Then the similarity is that both center and the regions in the empire and in the federation should be interested in maintaining the whole project, right? So they should be interested, both. So it's not about coercion all the time and not about domination, but this is about interest. However, the sources of this interest and the pillars of the interest, they're different, right? Because in the empire, it is done through the different strategies of center, personal loyalty, I don't know, marriages, co-opting the regional elites, oppression. So you would have the smart empire uses many different things, to hold this territory together. You cannot. Empire has not a one algorithm of and empire is not a vertical. Empire is a very centralized thing, being smart to develop different relations with the peripheries. However, these are not equal relations. This contract, it's a contract, and this contract is only one part in this relationship of two, periphery versus metropolis, can reshape this contract. This is the empire itself. So this is this thing. So this is but this is also the question of loyalty, like самодержавие, православие, народность, or Britannia правит морями. So this should be kind of a general kind of legitimizing idea, the great narrative for the great empire, great narrative because empire is great, at least, from their perspective. But in federalism, these sources of mutual interest to be together is guaranteed, not guaranteed, but is kind of made through different mechanisms, much more complicated. First of all, for political parties, which is also very much is forgotten when we are discussing the future of Russia. No one is talking about political parties. What will be the political parties? My God, you are discussing Putin and Putin's successor. What will be with United Russia? What will be with other political parties? Are there any demand for political parties? But in the federation, the political parties are a crucial thing. What is the other? The elections is the crucial thing in the federation, through the elections and through the politicians on the regional level who are working with the politicians of the national level. And the regional elections very much are conditioned on the results of national elections and vice versa. So this is the case. So again, what is similar is that interest from both sides, but what is different, how this interest is maintained, through which mechanism.
Okay, well, I think that you have been more than gracious in answering all of these questions, which shows, great interest in the subject matter and in your talk. So let's thank Professor Busygina.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. Please think about the region. Please. Think about the region. They're important. Thank you. Oh,